Tamánsás an bille seo chur os Corn Dáil Éireann bille hílam atá fíorthábhachtach go chraíarcacht as chun cíntiú gúil an Dáil ag obair son na Níne. I'm delighted to be bringing this bill, my first bill, in front of the Dáil this evening alongside my colleague Pearse Dardy. This topic, the topic of the public standards, goes to the heart of the well-functioning of a democratic system. The corollary of this is that poor public standards leads to a poorly functioning democratic system. The last number of months alone show the very need for increased regulation of lobbying, and this is something that SIPO has long been calling for, and urgent action is needed. And I am hoping to have cross-party support on this matter, as I fully believe that the enacting of this legislation is a sensible thing to do, and in fact it is a common sense thing to do. And I'll be honest that I am disappointed that the Government's amendment to this bill seeks another review, and this time a review of Section 22 and what seems to be a pushing down the road regarding the bill that I'm presenting to you today. We had a review in 2016 and we had another review in 2019, and we don't need another review. We need action on this matter. And this isn't rocket science. This is a clear and straightforward way to deal with a problem that we as politicians are facing. And it is time that this Dáil called stop on the revolving door between political life and lobbying activities, a revolving door which may have served the self-interest of some former ministers, but not one that has served in the interest of the public. A revolving door between politics and the lobbying industry is corrosive to democracy. It undermines public confidence that our political system is responsive to the people's needs rather than that of unelected vested interest groups, and this bill would change that. When reviews took place on this bill, SIPO, the body which ensures standards in public office, put in recommendations to strengthen their hand in dealing with breaches of the Lobbying Act. Our bill will implement 13 of the 22 recommendations made by SIPO to the Government in 2019, and some of these are there to broaden the scope of the Act, some are definitional changes, and some enact new provisions. It will increase the length of time, the so-called cooling-off period, that ministers, junior ministers, special advisers and high-ranking civil servants must wait before moving from office to the lobbying sector. We would increase this from 1 to 2 years, and that's simply following best practice. And before I hear, and I've heard people say that this interferes with people's right to work, there is a provision in this bill for SIPO, again the Standards in Public Office Commission, to waive this cooling-off period or to shorten it if they feel a strong enough case has been made in this regard. This bill would also allow SIPO to investigate and sanction breaches of this cooling-off period. And what's the point in having a cooling-off period that doesn't even really need to be adhered to? Surely, again, the common-sense thing to do here is to legislate to close that loophole. And this bill would also give SIPO the power to investigate and sanction a person or body, so a lobbyist, that avoids their obligations under the Act by not adhering to this Act. And this is simple and straightforward. A simple way to stop people from trying to avoid the requirements of the legislation is to have an anti-avoidance provision, and that would make sense, and that's in this bill. As well as this, it outlines clearly that a designated public official must cut off contact with a person who has failed to comply with the registration of lobbying activities, and not only that, but they must inform SIPO in writing that they have done this. And as well as that, if SIPO become aware of the fact that there is a person that isn't complying with this, that they can tell a designated public official that they must cease all communication with that person or body, and it is for SIPO to decide how long this communication must be stopped for. And again, that is something that I believe is clear. It's straightforward, and it's a way of dealing with breaches of this Act. In addition to this, it will require compliance with the Code of Conduct for people carrying out lobbying activities. The original Act said that there has to be regard to, but the Code, rather than having adherence to it, and this is very important, that SIPO would have powers to conduct inquiries into reported of breaches. And in the interest of accountability and transparency, this bill is urgently needed, and there's no point suggesting that we must wait, have another review, take a look at it in a number of months. Let's bring this to committee stage and let's have a thorough discussion on it, and let's finally give SIPO the powers that they've been calling for since 2016, and let's work together to shut the door between government and vested interests.
Sorry, Deputy Farrell, just calling you to move the second reading motion. Move.
Moved.
Thank you.